What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue to look at the 2021 schedules and project each team's record. Louisville is up next, and this might be the last team that we do an individual video on. I might do a couple more, I'm not sure. But we will show you the projection for every team because we're going to show you those projected standings, at least for the Power 5 conferences. And you'll see the projections for each team when we do that. So every team may not get a video. I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to do a video for Kansas and get 100 views. It's just not really worth it. So we're doing Louisville here. This one was requested several times, so I wanted to make sure I got the Cardinals in here. And it was a rough year for them last year. Just 3 wins or 4 wins on the season. And it was really a surprise because I thought this team was going to be much better last year. I actually thought that they had a chance to be a dark horse in the ACC. I thought they were probably top 5 in the ACC, but it just didn't work out for them. And it was kind of a weird year. You look at their games that they won, especially in the ACC, they were really impressive in those games. Really impressive against Florida State, Wake Forest, Syracuse. And then some of their losses were just horrible. You know, they played Notre Dame pretty tough, though. It was just a weird year for Louisville, really inconsistent. But you look ahead to 2021, again, they were 4-7 last year. This is the schedule. Before we go into the entire schedule, let's look at who they play outside of the Atlantic Division. They're going to play Ole Miss in Atlanta. That's going to be a big game to start off the season. They'll also play Eastern Kentucky, UCF, and Kentucky. That is a pretty tough non-conference schedule. Ole Miss, UCF, Kentucky, all teams that could be top 25 teams. I doubt all 3 of them will be, but 2 of those 3 teams might finish in the top 25. Ole Miss has a chance to be really good this year. Kentucky could be a dangerous team as well, and UCF, they're always right there in the mix. So that's a pretty tough non-conference schedule. Then they'll play Virginia and Duke out of the Coastal Division, so you like that draw. You don't have to play North Carolina. You don't have to play Miami. You don't have to play Pitt, who's going to have a lot coming back this year. Virginia is going to be a tough game, but you do want to play Duke, probably. That's one team that you're going to want to play out of the Coastal Division, and that is who they will play. So they begin the year on Monday night. They will play on Labor Day. They'll play against Ole Miss on Labor Day, and what has become kind of a tradition now. We seem to have these Labor Day games every year, and it's usually a pretty big non-conference game, usually on a neutral site, and that's what we're going to have here in this game. Ole Miss versus Louisville in Atlanta. It should be an exciting game. You know, Ole Miss, I think, is going to be a very dangerous team, like I mentioned. Louisville has some question marks. They have Cunningham back at quarterback, but they lose some playmakers around him. They lose some key guys on defense. It's hard to really project what Louisville's going to look like, and when we do these projections, which I'll show you in a second, it's going to be based off of what they have coming back and also just kind of looking at the games from last year. So that's kind of how we'll do it. But again, Louisville is a team that is very tough to predict. They'll have Eastern Kentucky there on September 11th. Then they'll play UCF on September 17th in what is also going to be a very interesting game, in my opinion. Two probably high-powered offenses, and it's going to be a Friday night game. So you have a Labor Day game, a Monday night game, then you have a Friday night game in week 3. So it's their first 3 games are kind of sandwiched in there in a short period of time, which is interesting. You're talking about 11 days here where they're going to play 3 games, but they will play UCF there again on a Friday night, September 17th. Then they will play Florida State on September 25th. That game will be on the road. You go back to last year and look at what Louisville did. They looked really good against Florida State. They won that game easily. I think it might be a little bit different this year. Playing on the road, playing against a Florida State team that is interesting. I mean, they've got a lot of transfers coming in. They've got experience coming back. We don't know for sure what we're going to get from Florida State, just like with Louisville. So that's a tough game to predict. And how about the fact that they're going to play Dylan Gabriel of UCF and then play, more than likely, Mackenzie Milton, who was at UCF. They're going to play those 2 quarterbacks in back-to-back weeks. Just something interesting there. Then on October the 2nd, they'll play on the road at Wake Forest. They won that game last year. We'll see if they can do it again. They'll play Virginia on October the 9th. Then they get a bye week. So really right there in the middle of the year, get a bye week. Pretty good time for it before a couple of crucial games in the division. Look, Louisville's not going to win the Atlantic Division this year. They're not going to beat Clemson unless something crazy happens. But if they're going to have a great year and they're going to have a chance to maybe finish 2nd or 3rd in the Atlantic Division, and I'm not saying they're going to, but if they were to have a chance to do that, these next 2 games are big. Boston College and NC State, the other teams that I think are really challenging in the Atlantic Division. Maybe Florida State's in there as well. It could be actually a really interesting division this year with teams that are kind of on the rise. We'll see how it plays out. But Boston College and NC State back-to-back. Big games there for Louisville. Then they'll play Clemson at home on November the 6th. Obviously a very tough matchup there. Syracuse on November 13th. That'll be a home game for them. You got to like their chances in that matchup. They won last year, and Syracuse really doesn't have a whole lot to get me excited about in 2021. Then they'll play Duke there on November the 18th. That's going to be a Thursday night game. So they've got a few games here that are not on Saturdays. A Monday night game, a Friday night game, now a Thursday night game, which is good because you get a national audience usually to watch these games. And so that could be a good move there for recruiting and things like that. But they'll play Duke there on the road and then finish it off with Kentucky on November 27th in a game that's going to be really tough. And Kentucky's really kind of had their number recently in this rivalry. Of course, they didn't get to play last year, but that'll be how they finish up the season. And of course, we're so glad to see these rivalries back. So now we're going to give you a projection based off of this schedule, and this is the scale that we use. If it's a 50-50 game, it'll stay in the white, less than 10% in the red, 10 to 25% in orange, 26 to 40% in yellow, 60 to 74% in purple, 75 to 90 in blue, and over 90% will be in green. And we got one of those. We got Eastern Kentucky. That should be a win. Again, Louisville's a team that might be pretty bad this year. Honestly, they might surprise and be a decent team. It's hard to say, but they still should be able to beat Eastern Kentucky. I think we can count that as a win. And then we go to the purple games here, Syracuse and Duke. These are games where I think Louisville will be favored by about a touchdown, 6, 7, 8 points, somewhere in there. But they won't be huge favorites. They could absolutely lose either one of these matchups. But again, they will be the favorite against both Syracuse and Duke, in my opinion. So if you take care of business, that's going to get you 3 wins. And then everything else is going to be a game where Louisville is an underdog, or it's basically a 50-50 game. And the biggest test for them, the game where they'll be the biggest underdog, is that Clemson game. And that's in the orange there, 10 to 25%. Again, they don't have much of a chance to win this one, in my opinion. I would be very surprised if the game is even competitive. So that'll be a loss for them. Everything else is kind of, can go either way, but there are games where I think they're going to be, just like with Syracuse and Duke, I think they're going to be about a touchdown underdog. And I think you've got a few of these games. You got Ole Miss, UCF, Boston College, NC State, Kentucky. I would probably throw Florida State in this as well, because I just think Florida State's going to be much improved this year. But we have to go back to last year at least. We have to look at that a little bit, and the way Louisville won that game easily. It's hard for me to say that they're going to be a touchdown underdog against Florida State, even though maybe that's kind of how I feel about the game. Again, we kind of just have these rules that we set up to do this projection. And it's why it's not a prediction. It's simply a projection based off of these things these rules that we set up and everything based off of this schedule. Again, all these games, I think they're going to be about a touchdown underdog. When we did the Kentucky video, I called that a 50-50 game, but after doing more research on both of these teams, I think Kentucky will clearly be favored in that. Not by a lot, but they will be favored. And then that leaves Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia, 3 50-50 games for them, games that could go either way. Again, Florida State's going to be really tough, but they won that game last year easily. They beat Wake Forest pretty easy last year as well. So those are games that you got to have some confidence going into and thinking that maybe you have a chance. Virginia is another team that doesn't bring back a ton of production. I think that's a game that Louisville could possibly win. The game was pretty close last year, a 2-touchdown game. So I think we can put that game in this category as well. Plus, it's at home this year. It was on the road last year. So those are your 3 50-50 games. And what we do here is we count the green and the blue as wins. We count the red and the orange as losses. So we have 1 win, 1 loss with Eastern Kentucky and Clemson. And then we average out the others. We go with 40% for the yellow, 50% for the white, 60% for the purple, and they just give you a projection. And based off of those numbers, the projection for Louisville is 6-6 in 2021. I'll be honest with you. I think 6-6 is going to be tough. When I look at this schedule, and I don't want to give away my predictions, but when I look at this schedule, I think they can beat Eastern Kentucky, Syracuse, and Duke, games that they can win. That's 3 wins right there. I think Florida State, Wake Forest on the road are going to be tough matchups. I think Virginia is going to be tough. Maybe they could steal one of these games. Boston College, maybe even UCF, who knows. But to go from 3-6 with all of these tough games, I think is going to be very hard. I think if Louisville can get to a bowl game and get to this projection at 6-6, that's going to be a pretty good year. But I think it's going to be tough for them, and I could see this team missing out on a bowl game just because when you look at the roster and you look at the talent that they lost around Cunningham, the losses on defense, they don't have a ton of transfers coming in or any big instant impact type guys. I just think it's going to be very tough for Louisville this year. But if they can get to 6-6, that'll be a pretty good year. And when you just average out the numbers here, again, the projection for the Cardinals in 2021 is 6-6, making it to a bowl game. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Again, if I'm making a prediction right now, I'm probably going under 6-6. But the projection here, based off of these numbers, does put this team at 6-6. So give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.